What's good? Matt Clark here at the new Matt Clark. How are each and every one of you doing on this amazing Sunday? I'm doing great. My girl's doing great. My family's doing great. I hope each and every one of you are doing great through these crazy, chaotic times. Like I said, we just entered another goddamn lockdown. If you could please hit that like button. If you could please hit that subscribe button and that bell notification button so you get all my videos when they're new. If you could share with somebody on social media, help spread the message, help spread the word, that would be amazing. And there's a PayPal option if you'd like to donate, help support the channel. The link is in the description of all of my videos. The goal is a new laptop. Next couple months we'll have that, and we'll be able to be more creative and get a lot more done on this channel. Today, I want to speak about Archambault Penitentiary. Now, Archambault today is, I don't even know if it's population, protective custody. I know that it's a medium and a minimum. I know that Luca Magnotta was there, and there was a bunch of backlash from the public about how comfortable he was living. The fact that he was able to wear his own clothes and would brag about how he was basically living on a college campus. But that was not always the case at Archambault. It opened in 1960s. It says that the medium opened in 68 and the minimum opened in 69 in Saint-Anne-de-Playe, Quebec. And I know that there was a maximum security penitentiary there pre-1986 when Donnacona opened up. And I thought that I would talk about the past in Archambault because it's crazy. There was a time when Archambault Penitentiary was insane. Lots of murders, lots of hostage takings, crazy, crazy stuff. I found this article. I'm going to read it to you guys. Then we're going to talk about it. I think it's crazy. I honestly do. And it's from Zoopolis or Coolopolis. Coolopolis. Archambault's prison bloody brutal history. The 450 inmate federal prison known as Archambault Institute opened in 1969 in Saint-Anne-de-Plaine, about 45-minute drive north of Montreal. Since 1975, 23 prison guards have been killed in Canada. 6 of those were killed at Archambault Institution, more than any other prison in Canada. 1971, 10 people escaped, including Jacques Mercier, who was recaptured in August after a gun battle. November 1971, Leopold Dion, 52, possibly the province's most evil offender of all time, was killed by inmate Norman Champagne, 29, who is acquitted on the grounds of insanity, as he said that he was the reincarnation of Lawrence of Arabia. Champagne was rearrested in 1987 in a foil plot to kidnap 2 McDonald's clerks for a $4 million ransom. McDonald's clerks? Really? Those are the people you think you're going to get these huge ransom for? I understand that they're civilians, but most of the time, they're not going to negotiate with terrorists. They might tell you that they're going to, but at the end of the day, they're coming in through the windows, they're going to tear gas you, you're going to get hurt, believe me. 1972, an inmate avoided 3 separate stabbing attempts as he awaited a trial in which he was testifying against somebody. So they put him in population, knowing that he was a snitch, and they tried to kill him 3 separate times, and he survived all 3 times. I wonder what happened if they ever eventually caught up to him. It doesn't say. 1974. Guns, dynamite, and grenades were found under a duct in Pavilion J, preventing a violent escape. Grenades! Grenades in a prison. Seriously. That's how you know how sick Montreal was back in those days. That's when all the bikers were going ham. It was major, major, major gangster out there. And they did not play. They did not play. February 1976. 350 prisoners participated in a strike in an attempt to allow for contact visits. The prisoners refused to leave their cells for 113 days. Nothing, for no reason, making the guards do all the work. Try to do that nowadays. Try to accomplish a hunger strike or something nowadays. Guys will be whining, oh, we gotta go to work. We need to get canteen money. We can't be... Good luck in this new generation. A guard and a barber were taken hostage May 3rd by Leopold Mercier, 23, and Michael English. English was released in 1985, but was caught the next year red-handed at the scene of a robbery. His aversion of returning to Archambault was so extreme that he blew his own head off while running from this robbery. So he didn't want to go back to this war zone so much that he shot himself rather than go back there. May 7th, 1976, the strike was called off in favor of negotiations led by Billy McMaster, noted West End gang jailbird. January 1977, Marcel de Gerard was stabbed to death while watching a movie in the Archambault prison. Another inmate was charged. January 29th, Peter Yank killed fellow inmate Norman Pish, 20, with a metal bar inside the cells of the Archambault prison. Whack, whack, whack. What's a worse way to die than to get bludgeoned to death with a metal pipe in your prison cell? That's horrible, man. But inside the cells of Archambault prison in Saint-Anne-de-Plain at 6 p.m. as 170 people watched. Yank was in prison for killing somebody else. In 1975, Piche had testified against him in court, and they put them into prison together. Like, it just shows sometimes that the system just really doesn't care about anybody's lives. They know this guy's going to get killed. This place was known as being savage, savage, savage at that time. So putting that guy's life, putting that guy in there, you are giving him a death sentence. And it's exactly what happened. July 25th, 1977, Dennis LaBelle, 20, and Robert Peltier were charged with murdering Daniel Thierry, 29, on July 25th at 8 p.m. inside Archambault prison. Thierry had refused their sexual advances, and that's how I also know that this prison was out of control. I don't know if it was general population. I don't know if things like that happened back then. But in Canada now, you would get killed if you tried to rape an inmate in general population and it got out to the rest of the population. They would have been killed. They wouldn't have been killing anybody. They wouldn't have had a chance. They would have been run right out of the building quick. February 7th, 1978, Warden Michael Roy was shot dead by 3 gunmen as he shoveled snow at his home in Pointe-aux-Tremblay. July 1978, 19 hostages were taken, 13 of them released soon after by convicted murderers Serge Roberge and Maurice Paquette, both 24. The rest were released 70 hours later, so there's a 70-hour standoff. 1979, Judge Armand, 77, Chevret, was shot in the head at home at Outermont on Côte Street, Catherine. He worked in the internal court in Archambault, but he survived. So he did adjudicating, I guess, for segregation and if there was institutional charges and stuff like that. And somebody went to his home and shot him in his head for mistreating inmates. Whew. 1979, September 24th, 4 inmates, including ringleader Dennis Racine, serving a life sentence for stabbing a 16-year-old to death at Laurent because he wanted the guy's leather jacket. So he stabbed a guy to death because he wanted the guy's leather jacket. Pierre Thibault, Michael Boudreau, and Serge Payer held 5 hostage, demanding their freedom. The 5 included 3 teachers and 1 clerk who had already been held hostage at the prison. The kidnapped were guards Serge Jeffrey, Martin Chevre, teachers Michael Pear, John Brockwin, and Lisa Roger, 23. 1980, February, Claude Charbonneau and Claude Manchroux, 20 and 23, held 2 guards hostage and demanded pizza. They took guards hostage for pizza. That is savage. This is the only demand that they wanted. Pizza. Better get us some damn pizza. You ever want to see these guys alive again? Like, it seemed like the place was just maniacal. Totally out of control. Wait till you hear the rest of this. It's crazy. Leon Rivard and Wilbro Desto were released after 48 hours. Warden Andre Lemariere received death threats. Guards are only paid $13,500 a year So, is it really worth it? 1980, inmate Jean-François Cloutier, 30, a thief, is found beaten to death in his cell. He is the 8th prisoner killed in 12 months. 8 murders in 12 months. Do you understand how many murders that is for such a small population? That is a war zone. You know how many people had to have been attacked, stabbed, cut, who survived? This is just people that are dead. That's crazy. July 25th, 1982. 3 guards were murdered after being painfully mutilated in a big prison riot. Leandre LeBlanc, 60, working his last shift, was disemboweled. Dennis Rivard, 27th, who was axed in the face and hung with a hose. And David Van de Abeel was also mutilated while killed by 2 sadistic inmates, Von Martin and Christian Perrault. They then swallowed cyanide tablets and killed themselves. Cyanide tablets. These prisoners had cyanide tablets. They were so ready that I was like, done. Crazy, man. Just think about doing time somewhere where guys are walking around with cyanide tablets ready to just murder. It's crazy to me. Perrault was in prison for killing a Montreal police officer. Another guard, Andre Mooney, was hospitalized in critical condition. 9 were charged with murder. Andre Lachapelle, 22, Andre Leroy, Mario Pruneau, Claude Poirier, Rial Gerard, Wilfred LaRose were all acquitted, while armed robber Daniel Boulet, Maurice Miquel, and Serge Robideau, 20, were convicted. Robideau was then strangled to death in a prison soon after. It shows you that in the 70s and 80s, there was no remorse. I had already heard about there being 11 murders in like a short stretch at Millhaven. It was something like a couple years. And that was like in the early 80s or something like that. And at that time, you couldn't be in the higher security prisons without being a total murderer. Because it was just a different time. People were different. There was a lot more rules. Prisons were a lot more strict. The conditions were a lot harsher, making people a lot more angry and crazy. Men were a lot bigger, and it's just a lot more serious. No games, no jokes. Serious all the time. Amnesty International later puts out a report claiming that prisoners were then tortured by the guards after the incident. The reality is, after they killed that guard, the guards took it upon themselves and said, And the guards at that time in this prison were known for being violent. It was a violent situation altogether, and violence against violence. I'm sure those guards were probably brutal. And like it said, afterwards they exacted their revenge, said by tying guys up, inmates up by their ears, or tying them up by their fingers, beating them, smashing them, doing all kinds of aggressive stuff, throwing their food on the floor and telling them that they had to eat the food off the floor. There's one story where it said they make a guy get down and beg for his life for what he did to those coppers. Guys are shooting themselves in the head rather than going back to the prison. Now, Archambault Prison now is a medium and minimum and is known as being a comfortable penitentiary. I don't think it's population. I think it's like Bath. It's one of those prisons where sure there's population guys there, but majority of it's a funny population. Luca Magnotta's there. And no real population guys are going to be doing time with Luca Magnotta. You got to smash that guy on sight if you ever come across him. So I can't see it now as being population. I don't know anybody who's done time there. You know, it's one of the Quebec prisons, but I really just did the video on it because of how crazy it was when it was a maximum security prison. The maximum security prison now in Quebec is called Donnacona Institution. And in Saint-Anne-de-Plain, they also have the Special Handling Unit, which is where the most violent inmates in the country go. It's a shoe situation, 23-1. It's minimal contact with staff and minimal contact with other inmates, especially when you first get there after you've had your violent incident, because you're only going there if you're deemed unmanageable and maximum security. So you've stabbed so many people, you've went at guards, you're just crazy. That's when you'll go to the shoe, which is also on the property or close to Archambault, Saint-Anne-de-Plain, Quebec. Now, though, population is Donnacona, and I don't know the other prisons in Quebec. I think there's Cowansville, I think there's Leclerc, Archambault, and I know there's some other ones, but I don't know exactly which ones are good and which ones are solid. I don't know, right? But the stories from Archambault back in the 70s and 80s are crazy. The amount of people being taken hostage, guards being shot in the street. It must have been during the time of all that biker stuff where things were just violent and crazy in Quebec as a whole. And when you have those kind of killers locked up, they're not going to take shit. And if the guards are just brutal, you know, it said they 113 days refused to do anything so they could get touch visits. And, you know, in the 70s and the 80s throughout Canada, there was a lot of riots and standoffs for rights. Guys nowadays don't really understand how good they got it. Back in the day, you had to put in a request just to get a phone call. I heard there was times in prisons you couldn't talk. If you talked, you'd get punished. It was hard work, hard labor all the time, and just treated like shit, like a number. And nowadays, sure, prison still has corrupt guards. They abuse guys. Jail still sucks. Guys are locked in and human rights are violated. But it's nowhere near the same as it was 50, 60, 70 years ago. Hence the reason why we have Prisoners' Justice Day. And we recognize those people every year who lost their lives and sacrificed their lives so the inmates now can do better time. Obviously, I share my stories with you guys, so you guys don't have to go through these things yourselves. If I could snap my finger, nobody goes back to prison, nobody's addicted to drugs, nobody has to do anything like suicide or experience PTSD. That's what I do, but that's just not reality, especially in 2021. This world has gone crazy, man. This world has gone mad, and sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to offer wisdom and advice for anybody who may be thinking about going down the wrong path. Hopefully I can change you. And if you're already going in or planning on going in, at least I can help you to at least kind of have an idea of what to expect and help the guys inside by guys not going in green and not being prepared to do time like a man. Archambault Penitentiary, not a very crazy and dangerous place to do time now. But by those stories, you can tell back then it was crazy. It was crazy. On Prisoners' Justice Day, at least recognize why it is you guys were able to do comfortable time in the last 25 or 30 years. And understand that guys lost their lives over that. There's a lot of people that lost their lives in that time because of the harsh conditions. You know, in my time, when I first started doing pen time, 2004, 2005, it was super comfortable. You had pool tables, ping pong tables, weights, a bunch of things. It's all gone now because the inmates ruin it. And I'm going to attack somebody, so I'm going to take this weight plate and smash his head in instead of using something that's not going to affect the rest of the people doing time there. Violence is not everything. And if you're tough and gangster and rolling like a savage in prison, you're going to do tougher time than the guy who just wants to chill and do his own time. You are going to have your number called because you're walking with that energy. That is a fact of the prisons, especially in the higher securities. If you could please hit that like button. If you could please hit that subscribe button and that bell notification button to get all my videos when they're new. If you could share with somebody on social media, help spread the message, help spread the word, that would be amazing. And there's a PayPal option if you'd like to donate, help support the channel. The link is in the description of all of my videos. So thank you for coming and watching this video. At some point, I'd like to have people on from every prison and penitentiary in Canada and kind of just break down what it's like to do time there. Archambault was the sister prison of Millhaven, so it's the same design. In Ontario, it's a max. There, it's a medium and a minimum. I guess the minimum's probably a different facility built on the property. But prison anywhere is not good. Prison anywhere wastes your life, wastes your talent, and really just slows down your ability to create a life for yourself. It's not the answer, and if you can control it and get out of that cycle, please do. Love each and every one of you. The New Matt Clark.